All right, so with that, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Port Washington City Common Council meeting for November 18th, 2025. Roll call, all older persons are present with the exception of Mary Lou Miller, who is excused. Please join me with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, we're going to go into public comments and appearances. Please remember that you are limited to 3 minutes per speaker and that we have up to 30 minutes for public for this evening. Are there any public comments or appearances? Please state your name and address.
Yes. Tracy Bitch, 42 West Parkview Drive Court. So in April of 2025 this year, voters of Port Washington Stockton School District approved a $59.4 million facility referendum with 63 support to inform the public. District held 6 community sessions prior to the vote. Your process for something 3 times more expensive, to quote your fashion fiction sheet, the Common Council first discussed the data center on January 7, 2025. The council meets twice per month and discussed the project in nearly all its meetings since January. The city has communicated frequently and provide information on its website. The project has been discussed in more than 600 news stories since January. No one with the city signed an NDA related to this project, end quote. However, community engagement meetings are more effective than just posting information online or relying on news articles because they allow real-time two-way communication. People can ask questions, share concerns, and get immediate answers, something websites and news stories can't provide. These meetings help build trust by showing the leaders are present and willing to listen. They also give space for deeper conversations where complex topics can be explained clearly and adjusted to fit the audience. While online posts and media reach a wide audience, they lack personal connection and representatives that make live meetings a stronger way to inform and involve the community. Where were the community meetings with public about Vantage data centers, especially for this TID 5? Why did we not hold the same process as the school district? As far as I know, Port Washington Southwest School District sent out multiple flyers to the community explaining what they need for the district. And where are the public sessions to inform everything that needed to happen? Where were your flyers? I received absolutely none from the city. Having things in the Ozaki Press and elsewhere is not sufficient. So while this project may or may not have been planned in secret, the community was not engaged properly, whether you like it or not. Put the TID into a referendum and give the city a voice. Also, I would like to conclude by saying that residents are growing increasingly frustrated with you and are asking, when are you going to recall your position? Thank you.
Mike Jenkins, 5400 Sunny Ridge Road, Belgium, Wisconsin. I first spoke at the April meeting along with other concerned community members asking Port Washington leaders to slow down and consider the ramifications of their hasty actions. The people begged the leaders to consider the energy, environmental, quality of life impact from this hyperscale data center. The leaders refused to listen throughout this entire process. But tonight, a few of you are called to represent the will of the people. Many people will be impacted directly by the high voltage wires running through their properties and farms based on bogus eminent domain claims for billion-dollar big tech companies. In only a few days, over 1,000 of the city of Port Washington voters said they want this brought to a referendum. Saukville, on the other hand, will have an advisory referendum on residential chickens. But the all-knowing mayor and council in Port Washington felt only they should decide on a $15 billion project that impacts this entire region. Oracle and OpenAI are worth more than $1 trillion combined. Vantage knew how to close this deal, move fast, publicly share the minimum amount of information possible, and do the political deals in the dark. If big tech cared about this community, they would have structured a community benefit agreement that provides funding for Port Washington and Saukville schools, funding to pay for the $30 million plus municipal building, an agreement to fund the buried power lines to protect the rural landscape and lessen the risk to livestock and human health, and a guarantee in place now, not potentially in the spring, ensuring energy costs do not rise. Instead, we are not seeing any major tax benefits until we pay Vantage back for infrastructure that supposedly the city needs, estimated to be 18 years from now. If it wasn't for this project, this massive infrastructure would not be needed. Vantage should be paying for all of this. On the TID, of the $460 million TID, almost $190 million is interest charges to the city owes to Vantage. Folks, 40% of the TID is interest charges back to Vantage that should have been tax revenue for the city. That when you take the TID less the interest charges, it's only 1.8% of this project. They must have loved negotiating with you guys. Your vote tonight carries a lot of weight for the entire region and for generations to come. If you aren't 100% confident that this is the best thing for this community and region, vote no tonight and put the power back to the people to move forward with a referendum. Let's just take a quick poll. How many in this room are concerned on any level about this project? Hear, hear. Sure looks like the will of the people to me. Thank you.
Before you begin, just for the if you've looked at our agenda tonight, there is no vote this evening on the TID or any other pieces. The only action taken is the closure of a road that's on the private property. Otherwise, there's no actions tonight being taken on the data center. Okay, sorry for cutting you off there. Just want to make sure everybody understands.
Susan Waldfeeder, 1856 Dixie Road, Port 53074. A few things I would like addressed. First, at our last meeting, I asked the gentleman from We Energies who spoke if they needed land, talked to him on his way out, if they needed land for their guaranteed renewable energy percentage, such as wind and solar. He said yes. I asked if it had to be right next to this data center. He said yes. I asked how much land would he need. He said 2,000 acres. I said 2,000 more acres, and he said yes. So, Mr. Mayor, are you planning on continuing your annexation of land through the unincorporated town of Belgium up to the village of Belgium? Are you also planning to annex west of the bike trail? Please answer. I know that you all have the option to answer, but choose to not exercise that option. Why? Also, will you compensate those of us who are losing home value due to the proximity of the data center? If our groundwater is in fact affected, what will you do? Will the city of Port Washington be responsible and make it right? And what about the more than 1,000 signatures turned in against the TID? Will you take them into consideration when you do vote? Why were two people on the council and committees who consistently asked questions, argued against what was not good, and didn't just accept the prevailing opinion removed from their positions? Do you know that the state of Virginia has over 660 data centers, and they're planning 54 more in 2025? Wisconsin is at roughly 47. Do you know how many more are planned? Are more planned for Ozaukee County? I understand that these are somewhat separate questions, but they're all part of the massive data center issue. We'd appreciate answers. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Maureen Jagner, 3639 East Norport Drive here in Port. I understand and appreciate the fact that the mayor and the city council want to revitalize Port Washington. However, the factory jobs of the 80s and 90s are never going to return. The 3 to 5 years of construction jobs don't count. This is in no way an insult to the construction workers. I hope that they have steady jobs. But building something that is not needed or wanted is not wise. From my understanding, the cost to Port is over $100 million. Together, Vantage and Oracle AI are worth over $1 trillion, and they want Port to pay them back $175 million plus 7% interest. Does this make any sense? It must also be considered that We Energies is part of the We Energy Group, which is a Fortune 500 company. These corporations have a lot of money, a lot of lawyers, and a lot of experts who are going to give their side of the story for their benefit. On the other side, we are a small city located on the shores of Lake Michigan, a prime location for a data center. What do we have? How many legal, financial, environmental, and societal experts do we have studying the proposals for us? Do we even have the finances to study this? Or are we just accepting the idea that these companies have our best interest at heart? I spoke at the October 7th Common Council meeting. After I spoke, I went to the basement. Mayor Knightsky, you spent some time showing financial charts that indicated the expected economic growth for Port Washington. You did not know I was still there, but you said you wished your, quote, old math teacher was still here because she could validate the numbers on the charts, end of quote. While I wasn't overly thrilled with the adjective old, and while I am not an expert in any of these areas I mentioned, I would like to respond. Numbers are numbers. They can be twisted to say whatever you want. They are not necessarily factual, and they can hide a lot. So, what is in this contract? Are we protecting ourselves? I know the companies tell us that there will not be any damage done to the environment, way of life, finances, or anything else. But are there guarantees, such as how many jobs, what types of jobs, what kind of pay, and for how long? How much power or water from Lake Michigan or other sources will actually be used? If too much power is being used, will the residents be limited? How many data center jobs will be remote? How long before the promised jobs are robotic? How much damage could be done to the environment? Are we willing to sell our soul and our city for a pie-in-the-sky promise? Perhaps it is wise to slow down, do our homework with our experts, and explain the details to everyone. We are moving too fast. It's obvious that the others in Port don't think this has been as transparent as you think.
Thank you, Ms. Shatner.
Yep.
Next speaker, name and address.
Emily Bulwark, 312 West Main Street, Port Washington. I'm here to voice my strong opposition to the data center being built in Port Washington. I'm a librarian, and a very vital part of my job is finding information from reputable sources. I've spent a lot of time reading through every bit of information posted by the city of Port Washington. I've also read articles, reports by universities, studies from MIT, and interviews from the Smithsonian. The information we have been given by the city of Port Washington is not only dishonest, but it's just clearly biased. We deserve more than a double-sided page of ramblings distilled from propaganda derived from $2 billion tech companies disguised as facts. Data centers increase utility rates, strain local utilities with their high energy consumption, come up short on their economic promises, prolong the operation of fossil fuel plants, and force trade-offs between energy and water efficiency. This information that I just said is from a study from the University of Michigan from July 2025. I find this information from reputable sources. I'm not a part of a small population of Port Washington residents who just don't want change. I'm smart, educated, and I'm concerned for the financial well-being of my neighbors, and I'm fiercely protective of our most valuable resource, Lake Michigan. I really wanted to believe you. I wanted to live in a world where I can trust my local officials to look out for the best interests of the people they govern. But there just isn't enough evidence. Where is the data from Vantage's other data centers with water usage, energy consumption, and rates of pollution in area water sources? Printing a graphic with Vantage's information from their company, from their marketing, about how they plant trees isn't enough. You could say Vantage is going to provide 1,000 jobs. List them. List the 300 permanent jobs. List the 700 contract jobs. I want proof, and I want real data from Vantage from similar companies showing that these jobs do in fact exist. Because all I can find is mountains of data and research stating very clearly that data centers do not increase economic growth, they do not create hundreds of high-paying jobs. And it was stated at a previous Common Council meeting that the data center will positively impact our local economy because construction workers will buy sandwiches. I think the talking points from speakers for the data center speak for themselves and further iterate that there has not been enough research into the negative impact this data center will have on Port Washington. I'd like the mayor and members of Common Council to pause actions and negotiations for the data center. I would like the mayor and Common Council to hear the people of Port Washington and give us the opportunity to vote on the biggest development this town has ever seen. All right, thanks.
Name and address.
Michael Gauthier, 3283 Bay Hill Road, Port Washington. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you once again for having us here for yet another edition of Kabuki Theater, where we tell you what we want you to do and you pretend to care. Again, without notes, as always, and there's nothing I could even add. The people who have already spoken have given you really clear, really unequivocal reasons why we don't want this. And we don't want this, make no mistake, we don't want this. And this is not just my subjective experience. This should be a public record. This should be a matter of public record. In case anyone in the room is still confused about this, this is not just me and all of my friends. It's not just all of my neighbors on my street, literally every single neighbor on our cul-de-sac. It's not just my entire family. It's not just everyone I know. It is everyone in the city is opposed to this. Mine is a handful, a very small minority of people who are going to profit from this. The people selling their farms, and you 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 and you. Right, we're not that stupid. Don't do this. Don't sell out our town. It's a beautiful town. This is our home. It's the only hometown I'll ever have. You know, this guy right here gave a great statement, and he said, at some point, boy, these guys must have loved negotiating with you, because the deal you cut for us is that bad. And he's not wrong. But you know what? There's a matter that isn't like part of the public record, and they were gleeful at the negotiations they were able to execute with you when they went into that closed-door meeting. All those closed-door meetings with each of you individually, with their high-powered lawyers, their PR execs who assured you wouldn't fail. The money they gave you that's now sitting in your ill-gotten offshore accounts, when you go to bed at night, just remember they would have given you 10 times more. You idiots. You fucking idiots.
Okay, you're done. You can walk away now. Nope, you
I'm
are
outta
finished. You
I
are
am
finished, sir.
outta
You
here.
are finished. You've been warned at every council meeting. You can walk away now. Again, we would just remind you to please make sure to be civil in your comments, careful with your accusations, and factual. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank
Name
you.
and address, please.
Thank you. My name is Joe Sincata. I'm an attorney. My office is in Shorewood, 1200 East Capitol Drive. I'm here tonight representing a group opposing the data center, Great Lakes Neighbors United. On behalf of the group, thank you. I will say I've only recently become involved in the effort, and to some extent as a result of that, and as the mayor noted, many approvals have been reviewed and decisions made. But I did, on behalf of the group, file an objection to the TID district approval. That was taken up earlier today, as the mayor mentioned. I attended the meeting to observe. The TID was approved. We did not think it was appropriate to approve that, but that is what happened. I do think the council may be aware of that. I did want to bring that to your attention. I did file a 8-page objection position statement that I think has some good information in it. We are looking at what to do next on the TID, but also assisting in reviewing other matters. Those would be land use related matters, annexation matters, also the process that has been followed regarding certain issues that have already been reviewed and that still need to be reviewed. The group, as I'm learning about it, and many folks may not even know me until tonight, is large and appears to be growing. I think this is in part, it's fair to say, because these developments, these data centers, raise concerns from a broad range of citizens. Property owners, farmers, business owners, people with environmental concerns. Many of the folks that I know of that are involved in this group, if not most, live here in the city or in the surrounding county area and the communities. At previous meetings of this type, I've made a similar comment to this, which is that these folks have lived here. They have sort of shown their loyalty. They've shown their commitment to the community. They've paid their taxes some of them as soon as they can, I'm sure, in full to the city and the county. They do that every day. I think their concern and their care for the city must be obvious. But these are controversial projects, and making a big decision with huge impacts such as this requires, I think, that the council continue to consider these issues. You have a particular issue in front of you tonight to consider. As the mayor said, no voting approval. But every piece of this, I think, brings with it the larger implications. And so I think on behalf of the group, as already articulated, I think that is the primary request from me, is that as decision makers, you do take your time and learn the facts and the issues. Finally, to the extent this review and approval process continues.
All right, sir, thank you.
I hope that everyone will continue to be respectful, although unfortunately sometimes things don't work that way. Thank you for the extra time.
Thank you, sir.
Jonathan Rizk, 1151 West Baldwin Court, Macon, Wisconsin. So we want to talk about facts, right? I like facts. One fact is that Vantage and We Energies came in here and lied to their constituents and everyone else watching by saying that they were going to pay the cost of the electricity for the data center. This is a lie because last week it was published in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel that We Energies proposed a rate structure for the very large customers where very large customers will only pay 75% of the electricity cost of the data centers and 25% gets put on to everyone else. Shame on these companies for lying to us. Shame on these companies for manipulating. It is my right to speak.
But not shout.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Shame on these companies for coming in and lying to your constituents, not just your constituents, but everyone else listening. We're on to the game. And don't worry, I don't just have shame on the menu tonight. More information on this subject is really interesting. The Wisconsin Department of Revenue publishes, as part of tax incremental financing, that the Joint Review Board can abolish a TID. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because the people on the Joint Review Board are all elected officials. Very interesting. Another interesting thing to note is that in each ward in the city of Port Washington, there was less than 1,000 votes cast in the last gubernatorial election, and only 25% of each of those wards are required to create a recall. What's also interesting is that in only 1 week of gathering signatures for a petition, we gathered over 1,000 signatures. Another piece of data that's very interesting is that a recall petition can last for 60 days, or in other words, around 8 weeks with some change. Just be careful what you do.
My name is
Name and
Jennifer.
address, please. Thank you.
Jennifer Borkenhagen, N1327, State Highway 57, Random Lake. I just am very upset at the state of Wisconsin and all of the small communities that have caved to things like solar farms being put on farmland. Why aren't they on buildings? They got that huge Amazon, warehouse, whatever. Stick the solar panels up there. Why are they taking up farmland? Wind farms, data centers, talking about nuclear power going in. We have a beautiful state. We have amazing pearls of just beautiful resources that we are supposed to be protecting, and the Great Lakes is one of them. And up north, you can't shoot a wolf, for gosh sake, or a crane, because those are protected natural resources. But you're going to plop the biggest data center in the world right next to the lake. That makes no sense. It's very frustrating to not be heard. It's very frustrating to know that when a big money corporation comes swooping into a small little town to solve your tiny little small town budgetary problems, they own you. Then they own the town. They own everything around it, and there's not a damn thing you can do once they're in there to get them out. This is a 10 to 20 year lifespan of this thing. Do you even have a plan to decommission all the stuff, the infrastructure that is associated with this thing? Do you have a way to return the land to its prior state? Are we just going to just let this big behemoth, 1,900 acres, sit there with a empty building on it? Are we going to turn it into a mall? No, it's not going to be anything after that. It's going to be crap. And then so is this town, and so is this area. And sure, maybe you could get another data center in there or whatever, but what did you gain? You didn't gain anything. The only thing you gained was what you're giving your children and your grandchildren is this history. You have one chance to do this right. And if you just slow down and read it over and think about it, and I get it's probably, maybe there's even some kind of muscling going on. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but just slow down and think about the ramifications going forward, and think about the impact that it's going to have on everything.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mike Beester, 305 South Garfield Avenue in Port Washington. So I'm here tonight to talk about two things: city finances and the will of the people. So we keep hearing from the mayor about how our city is broke and we're all going to be living out of garbage cans if we don't bring in our generous benefactors, Vantage, to save the day. And all we have to do is wait 18 years while paying 7% interest on their infrastructure to start seeing these benefits. Now, this line of logic becomes kind of difficult to believe for anyone who's driven by the Taj Mahal of public safety buildings being built on the city's west side. I was actually quite curious how our public safety building stacks up against others in the area in smaller cities nearby over the last 10 years. So I've got some data to show, and I know you guys won't be able to see this, but here's the trend line of city population, and here's the cost of those public safety buildings. If anyone wants to see this, I'll share it with you after. We have one outlier way up here. You guys can guess what city this is. $32 million for a 12,000 population city. So I guess what I'm curious is, why are we constructing a building that's 2.5 to 3 times what a city of our population needs, as measured by our peers? No wonder we need a cash infusion to pay for this kind of outsized spending. With our taxes going up significantly to pay for this building and our water bills going up over 60% to pay for the new water and sewer treatment facility, what was the backup plan if Vantage hadn't saved the day and become a consumer of these fancy new resources? Now on to the second point. The people of Port Washington have spoken via direct legislation and formally requested the city leaders not create this enormous tax increment district without putting the issue to referendum. The development is far too large and impactful to the city's economic well-being and our natural resources for us to continue to be ignored. But that was just the first step in a larger effort to give the power back to the people and say enough to the corporate welfare that is about to cost us dearly. Our movement is growing and the pressure will not stop. You have been derelict in your duty to serve us, and if it wasn't so sad, I would actually admit I was impressed how any elected official could claim to be a public servant while blatantly ignoring the cries from the people they claim to serve over and over again. I'm confident that this case will one day be used as a textbook example of how to operate a city when your primary interests are destroying public trust, ignoring your constituents, and treating people like they're peasants unworthy of a seat at the table. Thank you.
Just for the record, you'll be the last public comments for this part of the meeting.
Okay. My name is Arla Sveit from 230 Meadowbrook Drive, Fredonia. My husband requested that I ask a question that seems to have already been answered by the gentleman ahead of me. He was wondering what the rate is for electricity that the data center will be paying compared to what we are paying, because he is aware that large businesses get a special rate that is much lower than what we pay. So in essence, what has already been said is that the citizens will end up footing that bill and paying for the data center for that extra electricity that they are not paying for. So I want to point out that this facts versus fiction, it's a little quite deceptive, where it says the data center is making people pay for more power, and it says Vantage is working with We Energies and will pay for all infrastructure without any cost to other consumers. The point is they only point out that the data center is paying for the infrastructure, not for the complete energy. So we are paying the energy. And I want to also point out that they are talking about these 2,000 acres of clean energy, and I want to point out this is not clean energy. The solar panels are great for camping, so you can be off grid, or small things, but for a huge infrastructure like a data center and the wind farms, these solar panels, both of them, I have read that they last about 20 years, and then they are garbage, and they don't deteriorate hardly at all. And there's companies trying to recycle these wind turbines, and it takes a tremendous amount of energy to break these down. So it's not really saving energy, and it's not clean. And so I just want to point that out. And please just pause. Thank you.
Thank you. And just as a reminder that there is an opportunity for public comments again at the end of the meeting. All right, so we're going to move into the agenda then. The next agenda item is the consent agenda, the approval of the minutes and invoices from the last month. Is there anyone willing to make such motion? There's a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Under Mayor's business, I have a couple of updates. First, I just wanted to thank, you probably saw in the Ozaki Press that we did a red ribbon cutting for the lighthouse, again, through the funds from the state of Wisconsin and the ability to do that. I wanted to thank Rob and our team for working with that, Roger, and with the complete restoration of the lighthouse. I guess I'd never seen it that white in my life. So now when you come around, you're coming down from the bluff, like our lighthouse truly shines and reflects the sun in the morning and the evening. So that's fantastic, and that was something that was important to all of us. So thank you very much for that. I also wanted to extend a thank you to retired police officer Mike Keller and Joe Dean, our former mayor, for leading a charge to restore the World War II and Veterans Memorial at Coldock Park. If you had the opportunity to see that or participate in that as well, that was a fantastic community-driven component. So I wanted to thank everybody for that, and I saw multiple council members there, so I appreciated that as well. The last thing here is that some people have asked the question. The Joint Review Board did meet this afternoon at 4 o'clock and unanimously passed the TID agreement that was represented by the school district, the county, citizen at large, and Milwaukee Area Technical College. And it was said before that those were all elected people. They are not. Only myself is elected there, and the other appointees are community members or representatives of those areas. The other piece is we are aware of the signatures, and I want to thank the city clerk for, where are you? Sorry, Susan, you're normally over there, for the petition that was brought forth. And just a reminder to the community that city clerk has 15 days to review that to ensure the signatures are valid. And then during that time period, we'll review that, and then the process continues forward with the council having 30 days to respond if everything is legal and within the rights of what was put together. So thank you for doing all of that. And then with that, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa.
Thank you. Just a few updates, and after I'm done, Rob will give a little update on the public safety building, and they'll tee that up there. I did want to let everyone know that Vinton will start tomorrow on LL. You may have noticed the barrels out. The water and sewer project was approved, DNR has approved it, and they will start construction tomorrow. We're working with the county, and then we will continue to update on the website and on Facebook. We're still waiting for that update from Kapoor, but we'll get that up tonight if we get that in. Just to let the community know, if you want to continue to be involved, we do these department head updates. They're on the website. We do, it's like 20 to 30 pages each month of the things that the city is doing. So you'll see on there, we planted like 300 trees this month, all of the leave collection that's being done, and all the work that the city employees are doing. And I did want to remind everyone, December 1st is parking enforcement, so you can't park on the street overnight starting December 1st. Excitingly, our Christmas parade is right around the corner. It's December 6th, so be sure to put your calendar on for that. And in the zoning department, we are doing a zoning rewrite. Those chapters are online under the zoning page, or they're in the December update or November update, and you can link to those chapters. You're meeting this week, right, Bob? And they're going to continue to work through those zoning chapters. So if you want to be involved and read about that, please do. And we will, before our next meeting, have 2 new members to the Port Washington team. My assistant will be having twins, so prayers to her. And then lastly, I wanted to thank Susan and Council President Dan Benning for all the work that you all put into setting up shop up here, getting everything coordinated. I know that's a lot of extra work, and we appreciate that. And lastly, Thanksgiving's my favorite holiday, so happy Thanksgiving. If anyone has any questions?
Any questions for the city administrator? No, thank you. Good job. All right, that leads us into standing committees. Oh, I'm sorry, Rob. That leads us into Rob.
I'll be brief. So I'm just reporting tonight on the monthly executive report for the construction of the public safety building. And that should be in your packet. Bob, you can go to the next slide right away. And in here, I'll recap what's gone on the last 30 days. Go ahead, Bob, and the 30-day outlook. We are tracking under budget as we enter into about that midpoint of construction. So we're about halfway. Bob, you can go to the next slide. So the building is largely enclosed right now. It'll be weather tight in January. The roof has been progressing from the police side over to the fire side. So that's the final component of getting it watertight. They've completed the grading, or I should say the grading of the parking area. So the curb is in, and we expect asphalt to be coming in next week. They are working inside on their interior walls and their mechanicals, electrical, and plumbing. And in the 30-day outlook, you'll see that they have the outside veneer, so the building should really be taking shape by putting on the brick and stonework. And we go to the last slide, which shows a few of the photographs. Whoops, next slide, sorry. Yep, which are hard to see, but tucked in the back of the building is the training tower, and that's quickly taken shape, and the siding has gone on, and again, it's really coming together quickly. It's staying on budget and on schedule. We expect it to be occupied next summer.
And Rob, I had seen that the community I-beam that was painted for police and fire that the students and citizens had signed went up. When did that go up?
Yep, it went up last week. It is in the fire department's mechanical room. So not a super high profile location, but I'm happy to report that it is in a location. There aren't many of the beams that are visible that are going to be visible moving forward. Most of them are covered by the ceiling, but this will be visible from day one.
Forever,
so,
yeah.
Yes.
That'll be a cool little historical footnote as young people in our community takes tours there that they go see where they signed.
It'll be a reason to visit the mechanical room when they do their tours. So,
yeah. Well, thank you for all that.
Thanks. No,
Hold on a
great.
second. Any
Everybody
questions
loved it.
for Rob? Additions? Okay. Mr. Benning?
I would just add, Rob, the base coat of asphalt's down, so it really does look like a facility now. And then this morning, they took the big crane down, took it apart and hauled it away. So we're that far along that the exterior work is pretty well completed.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. Dan works next, as everyone knows, Dan works next door to it, so he has a bird's eye view, and I don't get out there quite as often. Thank you.
Did you put your handprint in the asphalt? A little Danny or something? No, that would be great. Okay, that then takes us into standing council committees, General Government and Finance Committee. The first opportunity for action tonight is consideration and possible action on approval of original liquor license for Class B beer and Class C wine for Descartes LLC, Art Perspective at 226 East Main Street. The council is being asked to approve an original B beer and Class C wine alcohol license and approve K. Kaysen as agent. The city clerk has reviewed and approved the application and required supporting documents. All required fees have been paid and the background record checks completed and approved by Police Chief Hingus. Susan.
I'm filling in for Susan.
Dan.
So GGF reviewed this on Monday, and as Susan stated in the memo, all background checks were completed, all fees were paid, and the recommendation is to move to approve. Unless there's any questions.
I will make a motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the motion carries. That brings us into the next agenda item, consideration and possible action on the City of Port Washington's Business Improvement District 2026 operating plan and 2025 bid assessments. The issue is should the Common Council approve the 2026 bid operating plan and the 2025 bid assessments, and the staff recommends that the Common Council approve the 2026 bid operating plan and the 2025 bid assessments. Mark.
Good evening. This is an annual process as part of the bid special assessment for operations for the following year. They present the bid operating plan and their special assessments for the council's approval. It has passed the bid board and has gone through General Government and Finance Committee with recommendation for approval.
Any questions for Mark on the bid board or bid approval? Is there anyone willing to make a motion to support the staff recommendation, the motion to recommend that the council adopt the 2026 bid operating plan and 2025 bid assessments? There is a motion by Alderman Neumeier and second by Alderman Tierney. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the motion carries. I do want to thank the administrative team and the bid board as well as the downtown businesses. They do an amazing job. I don't think many people know that the special assessment is what pays for the Christmas lights and the planters and all the different themes, the different pieces that go on downtown. And with so many guests here, I'd ask that you please make sure to support those local businesses downtown. And just thank you to the bid board and their leadership for that. We are a Main Street organization in Wisconsin, and we are one of the best. So that takes us to the next agenda item, consideration and possible action on ordinance 2025-33, establishing and imposing a transportation facilities impact fee and creating and amending portions of Chapter 455, the city code, which is impact fees. This is a first reading, so there's no action. The issue is, should the city adopt an ordinance imposing an impact fee to pay the capital costs of new, expanded, or improved public facilities to accommodate new land development in the city? And the staff recommends that the Common Council enact an ordinance adopting and imposing the proposed transportation facility impact fee to pay for proposed improvements to the city's municipal street department garage to accommodate new land development in the city. Rob?
Okay, so back in 2024, the council commissioned a study to be performed by Keeney Architects on our street garage, which is located at 333 Northmore Road. The garage had last been updated in 2025 with a goal, or I'm sorry, 2005, with a goal that it served the community for the next 20 years. So here we are in 2025, exactly 20 years later. And at the August 6th council meeting of this year, the Common Council reviewed the study, which indicated that there are deficiencies at the garage and need for expansion. And so as part of that need for expansion to serve the future needs of the community, we hired Trilogy Consultant, and Christy DeMaster is here with us tonight. She is going to go over the study that she put together to evaluate impact fees that could be charged to future development coming in the city, which will be served by our street department. And so I will ask Christy to come and present her PowerPoint on the study that was performed. And so the item in front of you tonight, in addition to reviewing the study, is to this is the first reading of the ordinance that would codify the impact fees that we're proposing tonight. The second reading of it will be on December 2nd. And at that time, there will be a public hearing. That public hearing has already been put into the Ozaki Press. And lastly, the study that Christy completed has been at the clerk's office for review since, I believe, October 20th. So.
All right, thanks, Rob. I'm Christy DeMaster with Trilogy Consulting, and glad to be here tonight. I'll run briefly through some highlights in the study. If you could advance my slides for me, Bob, thank you. I always include a little background of what impact fees are as a refresher for those of you who may not have dealt with this before, or for folks in the audience. An impact fee is a fee charged to new development or new construction to help defray the cost of community-wide public facilities that are needed in part to serve new development. So they can be imposed for a number of different types of facilities. The city's street garage will fall under highways, traffic control devices, and other transportation facilities. So just want to point out that that's the main thing to understand here is these are not charged to existing homes or businesses, just to new development. Procedurally, I have completed the first step in this process, the public facilities needs assessment, describing the facilities that will be constructed, the costs, and how much of those facilities will be recovered through impact fees. Rob covered the next steps in this process, which ultimately involves adopting the ordinance that you have in front of you tonight. Moving on to the next slide. These are all some standards from statutes that have to be followed when looking at impact fees, and really the gist of all of these items is, number one, to make sure that they are fair and proportionate to the actual costs for new or expanded facilities needed to serve new development, that you're not recovering the costs of making up any existing deficiencies in your facilities, and also to make sure that you're excluding any grants that you receive or any other developer contributions for the facilities. The city does impose just under $9,500 per single family home right now for other impact fees. The proposed fee for the street garage would add another $2,877 to that amount. And later in my presentation here, I've got a slide showing how you compare with other communities in terms of use of impact fees. but again, only to new construction. And then there are also, on the other side of this, the numbers are pretty small, but the proposed fee for new non-residential construction for this facility would be 44 cents per square foot. And you do have similar fees for police and fire for both residential and non-residential at this point. The big part of the impact fee study is looking at what share of this new facility can really be charged to new development. And so we did a detailed analysis of that and arrived at about 33% could be attributable to future development. Some of this facility will be used to house park and recreation vehicles and equipment and staff. Some of it will be for utility vehicles, and so those were excluded from the transportation impact fee. It also is partly needed to expand that facility to serve and properly house the existing street department vehicles and staff. So about $4.6 million in total of the new of the cost of the expansion can be recovered through impact fees. If you go to the next. Again, this is not showing up very well, but we looked at splitting that out between how much should be recovered from new residential development versus new non-residential development, looking at both rough numbers of trips that we would expect to see generated by new development and also lane miles of streets needed to serve new development. So in total, about 63% of this will be recovered from new residential development and about 37% from non-residential. And then getting to the fees, again, 44 cents per square foot for non-residential. The residential portion of this cost equates to about $959 per capita for the expected growth in population over the next 20 years. And then that fee is graduated, so it's higher for a larger multifamily unit or a single-family home, and then it's a little bit smaller for duplex units, two-bedroom units, and studio or one-bedroom units based on expected persons per household for those smaller units. And then this shows where you compare to other communities, and I always include this comparison. And if you were here last December for the police and fire impact fee study, you'll see that, or you may remember that the fees were quite a bit lower for a lot of communities. A lot of communities have been constructing new facilities and putting a portion of that cost on impact fees as a way to shield existing residents from those costs. So you're a little bit on the lower end right now. With this new fee, you'd be still in the middle of the pack, I guess, essentially. So that's kind of just to give you an idea of where you compare with other communities. And then lastly, again, just to touch on the schedule, we've got the completed impact fee study. It's been available at the city clerk's office since October 30th, I believe, or 29th. Public hearing at the next council meeting, and then following that, under state statutes, you can adopt the impact fee ordinance to impose the fee. So, that concludes my presentation. Available for questions.
Any questions? Yes, Alderman Tierney.
Chris, when you presented this to Public Works earlier this year, you mentioned that, I guess, could you emphasize again that these fees sunset at some point? They can't go on in perpetuity,
Yeah, because, right, you don't want to continue them on after you've collected the amount that you said you were going to collect. So, right, when you have to track all of the revenues and keep them in a separate segregated fund, and those can be used for debt service on the facility. And once you've reached that $4.6 million figure that I identified, then you would sunset the fees, correct?
Other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you in a few weeks. That brings us to the next agenda item, which is consideration and possible action on a recommendation to reduce the wastewater billing for the business at 305 East Washington, Inventors Pub, by $14,128. The issue is, should the Finance Department reduce the wastewater billing for the business at 305 East Washington Street by $14,128? The staff recommends approval to reduce the wastewater billing for the business at 305 East Washington, Inventors Brew Pub, by $14,128. Mark, explain to us why.
Well, about 2 months ago, they got their last water bill from the city, and it was $33,000 compared to about $2,000 is their typical bill for their facilities operations. And they gave us a call and asked why, and we did some investigation, and they had left a specific use water valve open inadvertently for several weeks, and it was continuously flowing water through the site. Staff verified that none of that water was being discharged into the sewer system, and they've responded by making a request to have their sewer fees reduced by the amount stated. We took this to the Finance Committee, which also reviewed this matter and recommended approval.
Any questions? Yes, Alderman Postle? You want to give her the...
Correct. This is a one-time event.
Paul, can you give her the microphone, please?
Can you speak a little bit to the steps that are put in place to help identify situations like this more quickly so that they don't go on for several weeks?
Well, after this particular incident, the Public Works Department did engage in efforts to bring new software online to help monitor the ongoing usage at our customers' locations, as well as recently began an initiative to give public access to notifications of those types of issues, and both of those are now ongoing.
Any other questions or wonderings? Mr. Gasper?
So my understanding is in the past, we've been a little inconsistent on how we've applied this for this sort of issue. Because my reading of our ordinance is that it wouldn't necessarily apply to this to waive the fee. And I'm not opposed to waiving the fee, but I just want to know going forward, how are we going to be handling this now? We're going to have the software available to track it, but are we saying this is the last time we're doing this, or do we need to update our city ordinance to match how we're applying refunds in this type of case?
Right. In the past, staff had developed a program to address unintended use, directed mostly at residential properties who had malfunctioning faucets or other water utilities, which generated a high bill in comparison to that customer. We brought forth a proposal to talk about other credits that could be administered at a staff level, and at that point in time, it was clarified that our city ordinances does not allow staff to do that, which is really why this matters before you today. Staff does not have the discretion to do that, so we've brought this to the council.
Do we need to add some extra clarification into the city code, or it's just the intention that whenever this comes up, we'll bring it to the council and decide it there?
That would be at the council's discretion.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments on this?
No, I move to approve.
There's a motion to approve. The motion to approve the wastewater billing reduction of $14,128 for Inventors Brew Pub. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderperson Postle. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the motion carries. That takes us into consideration and possible action of Resolution 2025-18, adopting the 2026 schedule of application, license, permit, and other fees, costs, taxes, and changes for the City of Port Washington. The issue is, should the city adopt a schedule of applications, licenses, permits, and other fees, costs, taxes, and charges, and the staff is recommending approving Resolution 2025-18 and the attached 2026 license and fee schedule. Mark.
Yes, recently staff has begun a process where we take a look at our various fees for services that are billed to customers or other people. We try to look at the history of the fees, how recently things were updated, what time and effort it takes to provide these services, and then staff provides recommendations for updates, which is what's before you tonight. You know, we get participation from all the affected areas, and then we bring this to you in one action item as opposed to on a fee-by-fee basis.
With the fee schedule, is there a science behind how each of the fees that were adjusted was adjusted?
Well, some of the fees are updated already based on existing ordinances. Some are recommended by commissions such as the Harbor Commission, and others are recommended by staff, again, based on a review of the relative time and effort that these items take of city resources, and again, how recently the fee was last updated.
And do other communities at any time put into ordinance that there's just a natural CPI increase annually with the fees so that they don't have these kind of historical adjustments?
I'm not personally aware of that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Does any other council member have any questions or concerns?
No, I wish to comment the impact fees do have a CPI measure to automatically increase them, but I don't believe when we went through them in finance that there's any other automatic. They're reviewed by the staff, and as Mark alluded, in the case of Harbor Commission, the Harbor Commission reviewed the fees there that they're charged out of the marina. So
Okay.
with that, I'll move to approve.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second? I'll second. Moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. That takes us into new business. I'm going to call a public hearing to order right now. This is a public hearing. Notice is hereby given that tonight the City Council will review the request for resolution to discontinue a northern portion of Highland Drive. That meeting is being held now, and the request for the resolution to discontinue the northern portion of Highland Drive per the procedures outlined in section 66.1003 of the Wisconsin State Statute. Interested persons can obtain a copy of those pieces. This hearing, again, is directly a request of the property owner to discontinue a northern portion of Highland Drive. Is there anyone willing to speak in favor of that discontinuance? Are there any speakers against? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close this public hearing and take us into consideration and possible action on Resolution 25-14, a resolution approving the discontinuance of a northern portion of Highland Drive pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute Section 66.1003 in the city of Port Washington, Wisconsin, Ozaukee County. This is the second reading, so the council can take action. The issue is, should the Common Council, the Common Council must consider to discontinue a northern portion of Highland Drive as described in Exhibit A of the attached resolution. And the background is that the Vantage Data Center purchased the property previously described with the annexations, comprehensive plan, and rezoning ordinances related to the data center development within Port Washington. And as part of their site development process, Vantage wishes to merge those parcels into a consolidated site. Bob.
So this resolution represents the last segment for the discontinuance of Highland Drive within the data center project area. It extends from Lake Drive south about 3,600 feet to the south end of the former Felons property. This item is coming out of Plan Commission with a recommendation to approve. And following the publication of a Class 3 notice for the just concluded public hearing, staff does recommend approval of Resolution 2025-14 pursuant to Wisconsin stats.
Any questions or concerns? Committee's reviewed it? Commission's reviewed it? All right, is there anyone willing to make the motion to approve the resolution?
Move to approve.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Gasper. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. That takes us to agenda item C, consideration and possible action on ordinance 2025-30, creating a Ward 9 in the 1st Aldermanic District of the City of Port Washington and amending Section 29.1A for the municipal code. This is a first reading. However, we may suspend the rules if the council chooses to adopt and make this ordinance legal. The issue is the Common Council is being asked to consider approving the creation of an additional voting ward, Ward 9, assigning it to the 1st Aldermanic District and amending portions of Section 29-1A of the municipal code. The creation of Ward 9 is to incorporate the newly annexed territory from the town of Port Washington as recently approved through annexation ordinances. Susan.
This is a follow-up to the annexations that were just approved. Due to the fact that there is a change in the county supervisory district in that area from what our Ward 1 would have in the city of Port Washington for county supervisory district, that has set us up to create another ward to allow for county supervisory district 4 in that area. I did speak with the county about the possibility of them changing the district lines, and they declined. So that is why we are creating the ward to cover that area, and we will be assigning it to Aldermanic District 1, where the Woolen Pasto is current. So there are two ordinances before you tonight. This is the first one, which we need to take first, and then following that, which we can review in a minute, will be the ordinance that will be amending the annexation ordinances for this one particular part of each ordinance where a different ward was assigned because this had not been created yet. So once these pieces are completed, we will be able to set up the district boundary for that, and all of the maps for the elections and the polling locations will be updated as well.
Timeline is important, correct? Okay. Any questions on this? So as a reminder to the council, if we choose to, we can suspend the rules. We would need a motion to suspend the rules and a vote on that. And if we wanted to adopt, if you wanted to adopt the ordinance creating Ward 9 tonight, we are able to do that.
I move to suspend the rules. I second.
There's a motion to suspend the rules, and there is a second. Any questions or concerns on that motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries. That then allows us to, the following motion, I move to approve ordinance 2025-30 to create Ward 9 in the 1st Aldermanic District and to amend the location of polling places associated with it. Is there anyone willing to make that motion? There's a motion by Alderman Postel and a second by Alderman Newmeyer. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, the next agenda item is consideration and possible action on ordinance 2025-31, ordinance to amend prior annexation ordinances identified as ordinances 2025-08, 2025-16, 2025-18, 2025-20, 2025-22, 2025-24, 2025-26, and 2025-28, assigning Ward 9 within Aldermanic District 1 designations. The Common Council, I have to do it again. The Common Council is being asked to consider amending ordinances 2025-08, 2025-16, 2025-18, 2025-20, 2025-22, 2025-24, 2025-26, and 2025-18 to include all land within the listed ordinances into newly created Ward 9 within the Aldermanic District, and the staff is recommending approval of this ordinance. Further, it is recommended that ordinance 2025-31 be considered for approval on one reading. Susan.
So this will complete this next piece for amending that, as I had said, that portion of the annexation ordinances that were recently approved that assign this to another district that we're not able to do. So this is not something that is unique. We had the same situation with another development on the other side of the city, and we at that point had to create Ward 8 because it crossed county supervisory district lines and school district lines. In this case, it's only crossing county supervisory district line. So this is why the ward had to be created. So now we have these these ordinances that were passed, and we will be able to proceed with all of the territory boundary maps and assignment of polling locations with the Wisconsin Election Commission.
Thank you, Susan. Again, we have the opportunity, if the council so chooses, to suspend the rules to allow you to take action this evening on the ordinance.
I move to suspend the rules.
There's a motion to suspend the rules and a second. Any questions or concerns on that motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimously passes, which allows us then to take the city clerk's recommended approval of this ordinance. Is there anyone willing to make that motion? There is a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. There's a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns on that motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the motion carries. That takes us to the last agenda item for the evening, which is additional public comments and appearances. The public is welcome to make comments for up to 3 minutes, and we will cap that tonight at 30 minutes total for those public comments. If you were in line before, there you go, thank you.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for your time. My name is Josephine Dorado, and my address is 2487 South Delaware Ave. I am currently the Director of AI Strategy for a healthcare provider platform, so I will say that I am a very cautious, optimistic, as well as a forward-looking skeptic of AI and AI data centers. I think that a lot of decisions have already been made, people have spoken about it, and I think a lot of contracts have already been signed. So at this point, I think instead of taking a NIMBY approach of not in my backyard, which doesn't solve anything, how can we work together to make policies to make sure that both for the community decision makers and the people living in the community as well as the surrounding communities, that we can make policies that both hold the infrastructure and the companies accountable, as well as make data transparent to make sure that we have fair rates, clean water, and real results. So I propose a 3-pronged policy recommendation that contains all 3 of those things, that have fair rates, clean water, and real results, in that we take care to have and request transparency on how costs are allocated between customers and the company, as well as supporting state legislation like Oregon's Power Act for permanent protection. So in this way, we can enforce and push forward protection on rates and rates not increasing and the allocation that is put forth in the policies. For clean water, protecting Lake Michigan through binding commitments and public reporting. These work in tandem with the TID and the VLC that are already structurally in place, but more clarity and clarification is needed, for example, adding water provisions to development agreements, requiring monthly public disclosures of water consumption data. So for example, right now there's a categorization of direct and indirect water usage that is sort of a greenwashing or whitewashing of the information. So ensuring that monthly public disclosures of actual water, direct and indirect usage, are made very clear, including things like independent verification that ensure that closed loop cooling or other types of replenishment are actually doing what they say they're doing. And then last but not least is real results, holding data centers accountable for promises on jobs, on investment, and on clean energy. So for example, if there are clawback provisions, what are the specifications of the clawback provisions? Then how do we recover tax benefits, and in what timeline if targets aren't met? What are the required performance milestones mandating clean energy commitments and specifications, as well as requiring demand response capability for grid emergencies. Thank you for your time. It does take a village.
Ma'am, could we please get a copy of that?
Yes.
And I want to thank you for coming with suggestions and strategies. You can give it to our clerk, please. Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Council members, thank you for your time. My name is Howard Miller, 1223 Indiana Street, Racine, Wisconsin. I'm speaking as a member of the IBEW Local 494 with firsthand experience working with inside major Wisconsin data centers built, including like Microsoft project. I'm here to raise concerns that come directly from the workers actually experienced on these sites. Issues that don't always appear in official documents. These fact sheets state that no taxpayer dollars will be used, that Vantage will cover 100% of the infrastructure cost, and that economic benefits would be significant, but based on past suggestions and projects, we've seen costs overrun, unexpected utility upgrades, and workforce interruptions that ultimately affect both the community and the workers. What legal protections ensure that future infrastructure or utility expansions are not shifted on to taxpayers later? What penalties hold Vantage accountable if the job creation or sustainability commitments fall short? The documents also highlight water usage, closed-loop cooling, sustainability goals, but in the field, we've seen plans change once construction begins. Will the city require independent third-party oversight for water usage, generator noise, diesel emissions testing, environmental impacts, rather relying solely on developer reports? Are we doing that? And finally, the project promises thousands of construction jobs and long-term opportunities. How many permanent positions will actually be guaranteed to local residents? And what training pathways will be created for the Wisconsin workers and not out-of-state crews? And are we prioritized? On other sites, communication gaps between contractors, unions, and project managers create real challenges. What systems will ensure transparent pay scales, consistent labor, and a clear point of contact when worker issues arise? We want this project, if we decide to make this project succeed, but want it to succeed with if we do this, we needed to succeed with accountability. We needed to succeed with transparency. We needed to succeed with protections in place, both for the community and the workforce. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Roxanne Ramirez. I'm at 4382 Hickory Road, Wisconsin. My message is going to be hard to hear, so I apologize for that, but it's important and it needs to be said.
I'm sorry, we missed, what city are you from?
West Bend.
Thank you.
This is a message for Mayor Ted and for the town board and for all of the people in here for or against the data center who care about the safety of our children. Because of the tech companies that Vantage serves, there's never been a better time to be a pedophile. Thanks to the Sora software, OpenAI's image and video generator, it's easy to feed photos of children sourced through social media and generate hyper-realistic child abuse materials in seconds. Deepfakes are also already past the point where the average human can identify what's real versus AI generated, and that's being used against teens in sextortion scams. Elijah Heacock, an underage victim of fake AI generated revenge porn, was among other teens this year who died by suicide because of this issue. Even when no human predators are involved, AI is deadly. Teens and vulnerable adults using chatbots for therapy have received encouragement to practice self-harm. ChatGPT offered to write Adam Rain's suicide note, a 16-year-old boy. Common Sense Media recently completed a survey that 72% of teens have used AI chatbots in the last year, and over half of them are using them multiple times a month. This is an unregulated industry with real collateral damage in the form of human lives, let alone land and water. Generative AI is not only threatening our children's safety, it's also perilous to democracy itself. Anyone with a video channel or a podcast is an easy target for a deep fake, and it's very difficult to disprove misinformation at the rate of viral content on the internet. Even its effects on human relationships, mental health, jobs, and the environment doesn't bother you, the investment bubble should. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, recently have spoken about the lack of return on investment in AI. In 2024, the company lost $5 billion. In the first half of 2025, it lost $13.5 billion, and in the last quarter alone, it lost $12 billion more dollars. Billionaire Peter Thiel agrees, apparently, because the news has come in that he just dumped 2/3 of the US market share from Nvidia, which is a major partner in this AI development plan. At a recent Wall Street Journal tech conference, OpenAI's chief financial officer Sarah Fryer suggested that a government loan guarantee might be necessary to close the gap. While we are here to discuss the construction of one major hyperdata center, context is important.
Thank
This
you.
is what you're staking your political career on, and I...
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ruby Anderson, 2837 North Kramer Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My message follows pretty closely with the last one. I'm not going to pretend that I know too much about the TID and the local economy and whatever Vantage is saying about how they won't mess with our resources. But I just wanted to give voice to, again, Adam Rain and his family and offer the perspective that OpenAI is a stain on society and ruins academia and how children are learning. Adam Rain was 16 years old when he was contemplating suicide. To ChatGPT, OpenAI's chatbot, which the chatbot did just nothing to alert the authorities or give any warning. And as students are being shot in schools and politicians are doing nothing about it, that is kind of the direction that this could go with AI as this resource for just therapy and just when maybe people don't have access to that. So this is kind of the chance to not give into that and just not sell out to tech. We are so lucky to be on this earth, and it's just, you really just need to ask yourself if it's worth it for resources and children, and if you have kids and you're sending them to college, I can guarantee you don't want them using ChatGPT to write their essays. Even second graders are doing that, and it's just, you really just have to think about, is it worth it? Is this what we want Port Washington? And I'm not even from Port Washington, but just setting precedent for is this what we want to put our land towards and our resources and our money? And I don't know if there's still time to stop it, but really just you have to use your brains and think about it. Is it really worth it? And think about all the harm that it can be done to children everywhere and academia, the generations that are going to be here after you. How do you want them to live? And I guess that is all I have to say. I'm not too eloquent, but that is what I wanted to offer you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathleen Katie Schilling, 10220 West Melvina, Wauwatosa. I'm here as in representing the Ozaki Economic Development Board, and we're here to speak in support of the Vantage Data Center. We are very excited to see the project move forward. We know that there'll be a good investment into the community, both in its infrastructure as well as in the new jobs that will be created both on the construction end as well as on the full-time end. We're also excited to see Vantage become one of the community businesses here and help support other projects that are going forward. Some of you may be aware that Vantage recently held a meeting with some of the local area businesses to discuss how they can begin to become part of this project, whether it's through sales of, as someone said, sandwiches, but sandwiches are important, or whether it's part of racking systems that they would be creating, different electrical work. There's going to be a variety of opportunities for people, and Vantage wanted to be very open and provide information to our local businesses. They're also talking with us about ways that they'll be supporting the community. We're very excited to welcome Vantage into our community, excited to see this project move forward. We think that it will bring not only development of that site, but we expect to continue to see development in Ozaukee County, which only helps our local residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, Amanda Bell, W7211 Patchen Road, Partyville, Wisconsin. You may be wondering why I came 2 hours to come to this meeting. I'm running for Congress in this district. And one of the things that I'm hearing from across the 6th district is people are upset about this. I spent 25 years as a hydrologist with the U.S. Geological Survey, studying water quality across our country. I am concerned that we're not getting the scientific facts based on the propaganda the Vantage is sending us. So according to a 2024 Department of Energy report, data centers account for 4.4% of energy consumption in 2023. They are projected to increase 6 to 12% of all energy consumption by 2028. This is also from the Department of Energy. As a byproduct of the energy use, these are sizable greenhouse gas emissions from the maintenance of these data centers. The third data centers consume water to cool the systems and meet electrical consumption needs. A single data center consumes up to 5 million gallons of water per day. That is roughly the equivalent of 30 to 50,000 people's daily water consumption. The lack of regulations and oversight on these data centers they're causing more than a third of data centers neglect to report their water consumption accurately. So my question to the board, are you willing to risk the water and land resources and environment that Port Washington relies on for their economy while we're sitting this close to Lake Michigan? Are you willing to risk those environmental impacts for a one shot? Have you talked to some of the other municipalities that have had these data centers brought in? Have they followed through on their promises? Have things actually improved for the communities? I would really love to know what research you've done other than what Vantage has provided for you. Thank you.
If the candidate wants to stay, we can share with you, and please make sure to check our website. Most of the things you said this evening were not accurate for what we've done and researched, and please make sure to do that, and we'd be happy to meet with you, especially if you would likely be representing us in Washington. All right, sir, you're the last speaker. Thank you.
My name is Xander Morel. I'm a resident at 312 West Main Street here in Port. From what I've read in the contract on the city site, Vantage does not appear to be contractually obligated to use renewables, continue with a closed loop system, as a prior speaker openly questioned, and meet the full-time job numbers. We need guardrails when billion and multi-billion dollar companies decide to develop in Port. It needs to be voted on by the people, because once they have set roots here, we are no longer in control. Seriously, imagine a litigious dispute where we have to go against multi-billion dollar companies. We aren't winning that fight, and they know that. This whole proposal is more greenwashing. I find it amusing and disheartening when private corporations get credit for saying they'll protect a piece of land that would otherwise be, well, perfectly fine without human involvement, or planting a few trees on their property. Data centers make us more reliant on fossil fuels because we don't have the ability to support through renewables. You can look at University of Michigan's study on that last point. This is the domino that starts a vicious cycle of resource exploitation. This is the time when we have a say. This is the time when we can make a decision.
Thank you.
Say no. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that's going to move
Can
us
I
into the
say
agenda.
something? It's got real short.
I'm sorry, were you registered?
No, but Water is Life, Minnie Wachoni.
Thank you.
And you're bringing death.
Please make sure to state your name and address for the record. You can give it to the officer with
My
the
name's
clipboard.
Jonathan, and I'm a Milwaukee, Wisconsin resident, born and raised.
Okay.
Great Lakes, Michigan.
What's your last name, Jonathan? Okay. That takes us to the end of the meeting. Is there anyone willing to make a motion to adjourn? There's a motion and a second to adjourn. Any questions or concerns on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? I'd like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Have a great week, and go Pirates. This meeting is adjourned.